Good morning, my name is Flint. I'm going to read what I have to read, and then I'm going to take questions and talk some more. But let me get through this. I'm going to tell you how I became a part of New York history. So, there once was a strong young man who offered a job as a woodcutter. He set about his task with energy. The first week, he turned 18 trees into firewood. The second week, he worked just as hard, but was surprised to find that he only chopped 11 trees. The third week, despite working nonstop from morning to night, the number was 6, and he went to his foreman to offer his resignation. I'm losing my strength. I can no longer cut as many trees as I once could. The foreman looked at the young man, who seemed to be in fine health. Have you thought about sharpening your axe? Sharpen my axe? Who's got time to sharpen an axe? I'm too busy cutting wood. So, always look at the big picture. Never get so focused on your goal that you might be omitting something from your master plan. It's often been said that following your dreams help you develop determination and courage and gives you purpose meaningful in life. And when you think about it, setting goals provides something solid to hang on to and eventually share with those you hold dear and near. Okay, that being said, let's talk about me. I'm an artist. That means I live in a perverse fantasy world with unrealistic expectations. I grew up with an abnormal amount of health issues, probably due to the fact that I was a premature baby. I needed health and speech at an early age, and being hard of hearing didn't help. But I also had dyslexia and sleep apnea, which wasn't diagnosed until 50 years later. Naturally, I was shy, introverted, and very sensitive. In grade school, I stayed to myself and kept in the back of the room. But what did get my interest was visuals in the world around me. And that's what I studied, photo essays by the world's greatest photographers. I looked in Life magazine, Look magazine, National Geographics, and that turned me on and got me to thinking. As soon as I was able to pick up a camera and develop film, I did. My other loves were science, history, and current events. In the 60s, there was a lot going on. War and peace tried to coexist. The civil rights movement, the Black Panthers, the hippies, music revolution. Leaders were being assassinated all around us. Has the world gone mad? What was a 9-year-old to think? In the 4th grade, my teacher told us about Kilroy. Kilroy from World War II. He put his name on ammunition boxes being sent overseas. And he and his copycat followers became pretty famous. And to this day, no one admits to having started it. Influenced by that social studies class on Kilroy Was Here, I started writing Madison Avenue type slogans and sayings on walls and became New York's first modern name-based graffiti writer. It's not easy to rip a hole in time and space and end up in the history books, but somehow I did it. I needed a hero, so I became one. Now, don't hate me. When people think about graffiti, they think about the vandalism, the painting on the outside of the trains. That's not what I'm known for. I had a message, and it was one of hope and inspiration. So, what happens when you have a history like that is you get known and put into art history books. So these are some of the books that people have wrote about me, or they have my photographs. And because graffiti is such a phenomenon that's all around the world, especially known by the young kids, I've been asked to go around the world to talk about graffiti and show my photographs. I've had shows in London, Italy, and the last one was in Paris, France, at the Cartier Museum. And I must say, in Europe, they appreciate the art of graffiti more than they do in America. So, I also started in photography about the same time. So I was able to photograph my friends who did graffiti. I was also able to photograph musicians that lived across the street. Actually, I photographed everything I came into contact with because I realized that you don't have to go around the world to make great pictures. There's things that are part of your life that might be interesting to somebody else who is living a totally different life. Because that's what photography is. It's a window into another world. What we have here is some of my artwork for banks and office buildings, colorful things that fit in any decor.
So Flint, what did you said you started doing graffiti as a young boy.
Yes.
And what is it that you were doing?
Okay, so I was writing a slogan, something like, be all you can, there's still time to change the road you're on. I was doing a saying and putting my name to it. So this got me some attention. And even though I only wrote graffiti for a short while, graffiti is still going on. And there are people now today that have taken what I started and evolved it. There's one fellow, Al Diaz, who he was friends with Andy Warhol, friends with Basquiat. He actually went to my school, so I knew him, and he was a couple of years younger. But way after I stopped graffiti, he started writing sayings, and he really got noticed. The guy's like a genius. His last book, it actually puts me in the forward. He says I was the inspiration for him, but he is actually making such a mark for himself. It's unbelievable. He's very well known, maybe not to you guys, but in the art world he is. Graffiti, it does the whole gamut from scribbling to street art, which became quite valuable and recognized. So, yes, sir, Mario.
The graffiti that you were doing, was it politically inclined, political statements, or was it more artistic in value?
Okay, what it was sort of neither, even though I wrote very neat because I wanted people to read it. I wasn't writing it for other graffiti artists. But I wrote, like I said, sayings of hope and inspiration, trying to get people to wake up from their routine and maybe try something different. I used to do it on the D train, which is a nice transportation vehicle for people to go to work. So on the D train, it's not like the IRT, the 1, 2, and 3. Mostly people were wearing ties and going to businesses. And so I used to write something that they could look at and wonder about while they're going to work.
First of all, did you get in trouble for your graffiti? Were you ever locked up? Did you ever get any summonses? Also, I didn't realize that are most photographers into artistry? Are they like, because they're two different things. So what are you into more? I believe it's photography, right?
Well, I have to do a business, so I do photography, and I do a pretty good job at photography. But I'm more known for the graffiti, believe it or not. Anywhere in the world, and I kid you not, because when I go to different countries, I get a list of people that want to meet me or put me up. I can stay with them. That's besides the museums that will pay for my flight and put me in a fine hotel. When I went to Paris, my hotel was a block away from the Louvre. That was fantastic, It was like a great experience. Okay, but back to some of your other questions. I personally was not caught. Now, when I went to high school, I used the name Flint as a student, but people did not recognize that Flint, me, was the Flint that was putting things on the wall. Today, it's not good to get arrested. It's not good to get fined, summonses, because they throw the book at you. But New York is such a mecca of graffiti that painters from Europe, they do come to the MTA to paint on the trains here.
There were graffiti artists going up in the middle of the night, putting graffiti all over the building. And they were wearing over $100 to $200 pair of jeans.
Use the mic, please.
And the police couldn't stop them. You know, they don't work for me personally. So I took it in my own hands. I went there one night. I put petroleum jelly all over the building. And the next time they went up there with those jeans, they destroyed their jeans. It stopped happening.
It has a lot of different levels, but it is illegal, so I don't condone it. You know, I was able to get away with it for a while. And when in the 60s, the late 60s, it really stood out because it wasn't graffiti like you know it today there. But I do remember the 70s when you walk into a train and it's like, I'm not going to say it's like an art gallery, but let me just tell you, Mayor Koch was not happy with us.
Leo Sonnenberg, USA. Flint, are any of your old pieces still on the buildings today, or have they all been washed off? Is there anything that we can still go and see, and which one are you most proud of?
I get asked to do a wall, to do a mural. So those things you can see. The one is on the waterfront at Makers Park. I did a trailer for them. Yeah, there are pieces with my name around. And I'm always, if they ask me, I'm going to go do it. You know, this weekend is a big festival for graffiti artists. But you know, I have a wedding in Niagara Falls, so I don't think I'm going to go to that one.
Favorite artists and why?
My favorite artists are actually photographers. So these are the guys I look up to. When I went to the International Center of Photography as a night school, I actually got to meet a lot of them. This was in the 70s. Photography has changed a lot, or because of the technology. So everybody's a photographer today. But the guys that I worship are the guys that sort of started photography. We had a vision of photographing and capturing what we're seeing edge to edge in the camera. So basically, we would see something and we would get that. Today, with Photoshop and with all sorts of programs, there's no excuse for a bad picture because you could crop and make what you want later. And that's what a lot of people do. I go to some weddings, I do mostly video now, but I see photographers and they're like, the guy's got like a machine gun. He's like click, 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 click. And all that is good and fine, but someone like myself who actually processes every picture, that would take me a month to do, you know, so. Yeah, if you want me to name some photographers, I don't know if you guys heard of Robert Capa. Robert Capa was a Hungarian, and he photographed in World War II, and he told the press there that he was an American, so that he could stand out from all the Europeans. He shortened his name to Capa, and he actually was at D-Day in Normandy, and his photographs are famous. You must have seen them. Unfortunately, he died in the war. He stepped on a landmine. But his brother, Cornell, started the ICP, which is the International Center of Photography, and that is to document and keep all of the negatives of other photographers. That turned into a school, which is known throughout the world now, and in a much bigger building than when I was there. But through Cornell, I met Gordon Parks, who maybe you know. You might know him because he directed Shaft, but that was just one of the things he did. He was actually one of the top Life magazine photographers, and he was also an orchestra conductor. He was a true Renaissance man. So photographers, a lot of them have their hands in a lot of different type of arts, which is good because you got to keep busy and you got to keep inspired. That's why I brought some of these. For 5 years, I did night photography, which means I went out at 3 or 4 in the morning and photographed the streets of New York. From that, because it's dark and you can see the car trails in the darkness, I started doing light painting. Now, light painting is done in a dark room, and you only see what I illuminate. So these are total strangers on the street, but I was photographing the wall behind them, and they came up to me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, it's hard to explain, but let me pose you." And then I took a flashlight, and I just went around them. I started this way with the yellow gel. The yellow gel flew off. I kept going with the white light. And it's funny that I did a wedding pose because actually I just came from a wedding. So I had my equipment and I stopped at night to do some night photography. It's good that I was wearing black because you don't see me. I'm actually in the picture. You can see me a little bit, but not to make me out. The same thing here. A friend called up and said he gutted out his apartment, and I said, that's a great time to do some light painting. So I brought some different color gels, flashed red, flashed purple, flashed yellow. You could actually see me here a little bit because I do get caught if I get contaminated by the light. But mostly I work in the dark and you don't see me. So this is one of the ways that I have the power to stop time. So in the dark, I could only show what I want to show. Another example of that is after I shot this model, I asked if I could do something for myself. So I brought it to the abandoned hospitals in Seaview, and I have my assistant. She's lighting up the back wall, and I'm running around her with a flashlight. And so she got what she wanted out of the shoot, which was, you know, bathing suit stuff with a Corvette, a Snug Harbor, all of that kind of stuff. And then I got something that I could keep and I like. One more example I'll show you. This is my assistant when we were doing a job in New Jersey in a hotel room. And she was asleep, but I had the idea to run around the room and make an image. So luckily I didn't wake her because she would have killed me, but you know, it came out pretty good. It's like a nice illustration.
What is light gel? Light gel.
Oh, okay, sure. So all photographers have, she asked me, what's a gel? What's a colored gel? That's a good question, because all photographers have flashes. So what I do is I put this gel, which is like saran wrap or photographer's gel, over the flash, over the flashlight, and then that's the color that comes out instead of white light. So some of this is done with a pen light, but most of it is, this is a pen light here, the thin lines, and this is done with a strobe or a flash on a pole that I'm firing with a remote control. So some of these light paintings are done fast, like this one here, which took less than 5 minutes for sure, and some of them take 20 minutes, and I've actually done some light painting that took an hour. So some of my clients like this and appreciate it because it's very unique. It's not something that another photographer would do. Even though I do want to say light painting has evolved, that today there are thousands of light painters out there, and there's actually an industry that sells light painting tools, even though I used to do it with just a flashlight and a colored gel.
First of all, I'm very, very impressed by your art and very impressed by you as an artist as well. But there's a certain point in your career or in the career of an artist where you make a decision of where your art fits into your life versus where your living goes. And some artists don't, they include it all together. So if you're doing artwork, that's all you're gonna do. You're not gonna be concerned about the eggs in the morning, right? So explain how have both coexist?
I'm friends with a lot of artists, and I totally respect them because there's one name of, what he does, he paints abstract art, and it's graffiti style because he used to be a graffiti artist, but who buys his work? He paints guitars, and Eric Clapton buys his work. He paints cars, and I don't know who buys them, but I went to a gallery show, and the prices were through the roof. So he could actually make his living just on his art. Actually, in the Bronx, he has a gallery now that he shows his work and other people's work. His name is Crash, and it's just incredible because in art, the sky is the limit. So you could get obscene amounts of money. And it's obscene, but it's worth it because it took a lot of talent and time for the artist to develop that and to evolve that way. So it's just like I'm saying, without me going out for 5 years doing street photography at night and seeing how the car trails follow the car, I would have never latched on to doing light painting. So everything goes up in steps. I really don't have time to go out at night anymore. Plus, I can't wake up that early. But it's the same thing with light painting. If I had the models or if I have a client that wants it, I will do it. But unfortunately, I don't just have time to dicker around with it otherwise.
Tomorrow we're going to the South Fin Grill. Can you go there today and tomorrow morning and maybe do an exhibit on the side of his building?
Sure. What should I write? Mark owns this place, or no? Just get. Yeah. I would write. I would write. Get your seafood here. That's what I would write. Because when I like seafood, that's where I go to South Fin. Let me tell you. And Jeff, I wouldn't come anywhere near your buildings. But it's tempting because he's got 16 facilities. So they're everywhere. 20 now. Yeah. So I could go on and talk forever if you wanted, but I don't want to take up your time. But I hope you enjoyed the little bit that I told you about myself. And now I know I'm going to get kicked out of the club, but that's okay. We'll see what happens.
Do you have all the paintings you've done over time?
Well, I have a website that my pictures are on, and I have Instagram. See, social media is really big today. I have 20 Instagrams, actually.
Do you have a catalog?
I have one called Light Painting 101.
With the changing of technology in your business, there's tons and tons of competition out. Now, what equipment have you bought to stay with the competition, and also, what have you done with the people that think they're photographers to stay in competition with the low ball price that they sometimes do with friends? Say, I'm a photographer, I get the pictures like that. What two things have you done?
Well, this is the reality. So I'm not working as much as I used to. When I work for studios, that's how I learned weddings. I actually asked my wedding photographer, because I wasn't making money as a photographer, I asked my wedding photographer if I could tag along with him. And from him, I went to other studios. And I did that for 20 years. So I did about 100 weddings a year for 20 years. That's a lot of different skills. Because if you could do a wedding successfully, you could do, let's say, architecture photography, because you need to do that. You could direct people, because you need to do that. You could get to whatever person's level it is, you have to communicate to them. And you gotta make things happen, because pictures don't happen by themselves. Yes?
Did you get into drone photography?
I have a drone, and I've been crashing it quite successfully. I also farm out certain things that I can't do. When I was teaching myself photography, first I did the black and white photography for 15 years. Then I learned weddings, and I joined all the industry organizations. I got certified by the Professional Photographers of America in 1990. At that time, I was the 35th photographer in New York State. I mean, now there's thousands, of course, but a lot of the young people, they learn from webinars or they learn online. They don't really go to organizations. You really got something proud here that this organization has about 70 people, because a lot of the groups I belong to are dwindling down to about 20. But I still go to classes. We went to a video class last week. I play music. I went to a guitar lesson yesterday. You know, I like to learn. Yes, Claudette.
Claudette Dow from Integrity Senior Services. Flint, thank you very much for sharing. I learned a lot about you I didn't know. I used to hate referring to all this, but you know, now I don't anymore. But listen, right. How did you get through that transition when technology developed to the point where people could take pictures on their cell phone? I mean, how did you get through that period where people didn't need photography in the way that they used to?
Yes, that's a very good question. Because nobody wants to spend money if they don't have to. And say a bride and a groom, it's the first time they ever hired a professional photographer. So I'm not saying what do they know, but what do they know? So the better salesperson will probably get it, or the last person that they meet will get the job. Now, I've had to change. I do mostly video these days, because the photography wedding industry, it's filled with a lot of, with females, that's one thing. And with young people, that's another thing. I do video on jobs, and I see the photographer, and he's dressed in stripes and sneakers. He looks like a clown to me, but he's actually very cool. I went to one class, and this photographer's claim to fame was throwing his camera way up in the air, and it's on auto, so it's gonna fire. And a lot of the times he catches it. I don't know what happens when he doesn't catch it, but it takes a picture of the people as it's falling down to the ground. And this guy was speaking in Las Vegas at a national week-long seminar. So it's you got to catch the fancy of people. You know, you gotta be different. But trying to bargain down the price of photography is not a good way to get the best photographer. And when I get calls from the internet, the first question I ask is, did you see my website? No, all they want to know is how much. Well, how much for what? How many hours am I working? Do I have to go to Sarasota? You know what I mean? It's just like nobody's really thinking there. So I take winners whenever I can, but it's not like I have them all the time. And some people are so low in their pricing that they don't even make money for themselves, but they didn't think it out like a business, and that's the problem. So I hope I answered that a little bit. Yeah, so I hope they found that interesting a little, and that's the story. I could talk about more things, different types of photography, video, and music even. I could talk. Jerry wanted me to talk about music. And the reason is because I'm not a natural musician. I don't have the ears to pick up music and copy it. Mostly what I do is original songs. And a lot of the bands I played in, they just want to do copy songs. Because of a lot of reasons. The people in the bar will be able to sing along and enjoy themselves, and they like that. I was in an original group, and we did all original stuff. It was a funk rhythm and blues band, and the people in the audience actually sung along to our songs because they knew our songs and they followed us. So that's what I prefer. I always prefer music to be live and interesting, and I can't do copies of songs as good as Glenn can. Okay, Jeff, the floor is yours.
So Flint, you've been a buck for more than 12 years. And I found something new about you today. So that means we should all be giving presentations because there's probably things we don't know about many of you. You know, so thank you very much. We appreciate it.
All around the city, I was writing my name. I went underground and I bombed on the trains. My folks thought I was nuts and I would get bust, but I knew that it was my ticket to fame. Couldn't catch me, cause I knew the game. You write big and bold, top to bottom your name. I live day to day, what can I say? I got back at the system cause they are insane. Steal me some paint, never was a saint. Get up, get down, go out, go round. What can I say? I live day to day, now I just want to get paid. It's different today. Random Squad will put you away, follow you around, they photograph the town, collection of hits will put you on the list. Not your biggest fans, they want you in the can. Don't get caught. Fools like them all my life I fought. Remember your dreams, remember your wishes. If I play by your rules, I would only lose. And the truth is, no one would listen. Be it right, be it wrong. This is my art and this is my song. Let me be free. Vandalism to you, American art form to me.